Hey everybody out there in YouTube land, welcome back to another episode of FearScape Unhinged. So glad you could join us. We got a great topic for you today. We're going to be talking about the Intergalactic Superhighway.
Intergalactic Superhighway.
So stick around. Yeah, so Intergalactic Superhighway.
Okay, so we've briefly talked about this once before, but you're not talking about like an actual highway in outer space, right? So we're not talking about like aliens,
No.
like getting on. Well, because what I think of is Back to the Future 2 when all the cars are like that.
Yeah,
but in space.
Or somebody could say like, warp travel and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so like a
and
wormhole.
warp conduits, all that stuff could be considered superhighway, but that's not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
What I'm talking about is the ability to reach out with your mind and go wherever you want to go.
So the intergalactic subconscious
No.
Super. God, I can't talk. Okay, let me try this again. So what you're saying is the subconscious intergalactic superhighway. So
Or-
like astral projection?
Or like, how about the intergalactic psychic highway?
That's basically what I just said.
It sounds better though when I
No, it does not sound better. Okay, so you're talking about extending your consciousness outwards psychically. Does that imply also, like I said, I just brought up astral projection.
Yes.
So astral projection, I don't know necessarily that is a projection of your mind as much as it is a projection of your energy or your soul. But I still am with you. I consider it the same topic.
So along that line, one of the things that I was talking about on one of the Facebook pages was do your senses, taste, touch, smell, feel, all that kind of stuff, as well as your mind, are all of those just tools for your spirit? And so
because we talked about that, about whether or not the soul has consciousness.
Yeah.
Right? Because I had brought up to you in a private conversation that if someone gets dementia or
Right.
something along those lines, is the soul conscious? Is it essentially a separate entity, more like a symbiote, right?
Yeah.
Because it's connected with us while it's there, but if it's disconnected via dementia or Alzheimer's, does it sit behind the eyes essentially and feel trapped?
Yeah, so I think it's like, yes. So I think in the case of like where dementia or something like that, I think your soul is screaming at the top of its lungs, so to speak, to try to get the message across, but the body is not participating.
Right, especially if you are not one that knows how to astral travel
Yeah.
or things like that. Because one of the things that made me question that, and this is a twofold thing, and I don't remember where we talked about this, but we talked about, when you die, what happens to that energy, which I know
Right.
you have a theory on that, which we'll talk about, but, or did we talk about that in the ghosts episode?
A little bit.
A little bit, but, because I talked about, in the Bible, it talks about when Christ comes back, he will raise everyone from the dead,
Right.
which is why the early Christians didn't burn bodies. And I mean early
Right.
as in up until like the mid 20th century.
Right.
They refused to burn the bodies because there would be no body to rise, right?
Right.
But if that's still the case, that he's still coming, means that you're not instantly going to heaven, which
Right.
means that there are hundreds of thousands of billions of
Right.
souls. If there is no reincarnation, there is just waiting on earth, wandering around, and that if you had the right glasses like on They Live, you could see all of these ghosts, from cavemen to
Yeah.
Native Americans to early Americans to everything.
Yep.
Right? And so, and do those souls have consciousness, right?
Yep.
That's the question that we ask. So then, when they are wandering around, are they thinking?
Well, here so let me take it a step further and say, So I think you and I would agree on the concept of a place, a building, a house, a boat, a geographical location could have its own energy
Sure.
and be its own haunt, if
Sure.
you will.
We've talked about
right?
that with Keith, that even if you take the building down, if it happened on the 5th floor, the energy will stay up in the air.
But what I mean is not just so much the energy of like whatever lived there or encountered, but like the place itself. So like a literal haunted house, without necessarily the energy coming from ghosts or people.
So is this like the Flying House? Do you remember that cartoon? That old biblical cartoon? The Flying House?
So go with me, if you will, on this journey. If we say that a place can have
Its own
energy, because of whatever emotions or whatever that took place in that place.
So it's an evolved. You can't just build a house and it has its own energy, is what you're saying.
Right.
It has to take on
right
residual energy from those that live there.
It's been imprinted on the house.
Okay.
So if that's the case, if you yourself are made up of two energies, if you will, the energy that makes up your body, and the energy that makes up your spirit or your soul.
Okay. So we're talking a PBS special and Trinity Broadcast special. Right? Is that coming together?
Yeah, exactly.
Mr. Peabody.
Right. So, if when you die, both energies are released, could the energy of your body get stuck doing repetitive actions, and the energy of your spirit be intelligent and interact with things?
Interesting. So we're really talking about ghosts again.
Yeah,
but still, no, I'm with you on this because I was actually thinking that it is two separate energies, and that sometimes the residuals or some of the things that we see where it's repetitious and things like that of the haunts that we see are in fact the leftover energy from the bodies or even of the brain.
Yeah.
And the spirit itself moves forward, which is where we get our intelligent hauntings.
Right. So the intelligent hauntings. So here's where I think this is where my intergalactic psychic highway comes into play. So I think that it's the two stages. Number one, if you were able to reach the level of consciousness, let's say, to interact with the psychic highway while you're living via astral projection.
Right, or things like Buddha did and things like that, sure.
Then you could potentially instantaneously go anywhere within space-time.
Okay, so that's the question that I have then. So let's talk about astral projection in general, because I think that's the most common.
So let me, before we get into that, I just want to say, so the second one is...
Oh, I'm sorry.
When you die and you're separate, your spirit energy can then move on that same highway. So we can get into both topics. We'll talk about astral projection.
Yeah, so astral projection, not astro projection like you once said, ha ha ha. Not like the dog from the Jetsons.
Not the dog from the Jetsons.
But astral projection, one of the things that there is a theory about is that there is a silver cord or a cord of some speak, almost like an umbilical cord that connects our body to our energetic body, our soul, our spirit, so that when we astral project, we can always find our way home. That there is this trail of breadcrumbs via a rope. And that when we die, that rope is essentially severed, which is how we're able to freely go. And that not everyone has the potential of going anywhere that they want to, that maybe based off of fear or maybe genetics or energy levels or things like that, their rope is very short. Some people never astral project more than just over the top of their body in bed.
So what would you say that it would come down to, like maybe one's openness to the possibility of astral projection?
It's possible. I think you once referred to it as a rubber band.
Yeah.
And you know that it essentially you snap back.
Yeah.
But a rubber band can stretch and stretch and stretch and stretch and stretch, and depending how it's stretched can continue to stretch. Yeah. And so maybe that cord is like that. It needs worked, it needs stretched. Maybe it's like a muscle. You know, it's tightened because you've never used it before. But the more and more that you use it, the further and further you can get. Which is why I separate astral projection from the conscious projection.
Okay.
Because I think the conscious projection has no limitations.
So is astral projection accidental?
No, I think it can be. I think, in fact, most of the time for most people it is. But no, I mean, there's a million books on how to astral project.
But in that case, is it conscious projection? You're intentionally projecting your spirit into the energy of the universe.
But are you? Is that so? When you're using your conscious projection, are you sending your spirit out, or are you just sending your thoughts? Because astral projection is indeed your soul, your spirit,
is
moving on the astral plane.
Okay, are they one and the same?
No, I don't think so.
Because your thoughts...
Because I think that we can consciously project right now. I think I can close my eyes and consciously project my brain. But to astral project, it's a whole different thing.
Okay.
You know, because essentially when your spirit leaves your body from astral projection, you are no longer here. But in conscious projection, we are still here.
It's kind of like, you know, this is the way I'm thinking about it. So the movie Chronicles of Riddick, have you ever seen it?
Yes, of course.
So there's that ghost guy, commander guy, who can like kind of be two places at once, and then he can decide. So it's almost like that. It's like while he's still physically here, he can project a little bit of himself to the next spot, but he hasn't committed to going there yet.
Yeah.
If he commits to going there, then that's an astral projection.
Sure.
Before that, it's a...
I also look at it as the difference between AR and VR. The difference between augmented reality and virtual reality. In virtual reality, you're in a virtual space. You can be taken anywhere because it can be a video of the Grand Canyon, right? And you could feel like you're there, and you could feel the sensations. Yeah. And in fact, in this concept, your mind is there. It is seeing those things. But augmented reality is you have to be there to experience the augmented reality. Yeah. It is in the physical plane that you are in, i.e., in my opinion, astral projection.
Okay.
You are essentially energetically leaving, so I don't want to say physically because it's not your physical body, but you are physically leaving, whereas here it is your subconscious, your conscious being shot out, and you're able to think and move through time and space. Because I also don't think, and anybody that's watching, you can correct me, I am not a professor of astral projection. In fact, I don't know a lot about it. But as far as I know, I don't believe that you can astral project in time. I believe astral projection is in the moment. It is present, whereas conscious travel, you can travel through time.
So...
Because it's like the chronovisor, essentially.
Yeah. So would you say then that the more advanced of the two is astral projection?
I guess it depends on what you think. Because, you know, it depends on the level of conscious projection too, because I feel like we could consciously project our mind out and be simply an observer. But does it take more to interact? Let's say, you know, let's take the example of Visitors from Lanulos.
Okay.
I believe, especially after talking to Andrea, what he had was a conscious connection.
Okay.
I don't think he physically left Earth. I think that either he had a conscious projection, or he I'm going to say conscious for sure, because in a conscious connection, I think your reality can change. It's virtual.
Yeah.
So I think your reality can change. So to him, they took what they thought in his mind he would want to see. That's why we were like, there's no rivers on Venus. There's no this. But at the time, that was what they thought Woody could handle.
Right.
So that's the planet they showed him.
Right.
You know, and said, oh, this is Venus, or even the projection of this idea of what Venus was to show him these things.
So kind of like what I was talking about a couple of days ago. Do they do they project themselves? And when I say they, I'm talking about ultra-terrestrial, extraterrestrial, whatever. But do they project themselves into our mind what we're willing to accept as what they look like?
So yes, I think so. I think yes. I think they
way into other topics here.
That's a whole nother alien topic. But yes, I think they do. But I also think that they can accidentally show us, which is why we see more frightening versions of things. But I also think that they astral as well, because if you look back at like Buddhist mysticism and things like that, speaking of the astral plane and things like that, you can meet others while there. We can connect together. My dad, who would be mad if I was telling the story, has a story of astral projection from when he was a kid and meeting up with a friend and things like that, and it scared the hell out of him because his friend remembered everything that was said in that when they were at two different houses.
Wow.
And things like that. And so we could potentially meet up with extra and ultra-terrestrials in the astral plane as well. But I think we can change our image whilst in the astral plane.
Yeah.
So
here's something else that I was thinking of. What if flying saucers, if you will, or in any type of what people would consider extraterrestrial craft so let's go to wherever aliens live. Alien Planet 1, let's call it.
Lanulos.
So what if their ability to astral project over long distances requires some sort of a machine to boost their energy? So their flying saucer is just the projection of that machine that's boosting their energy, and then they're just in it. So the flying saucer is not actually there. It is a projection.
I mean, if we speak about the cord that connects us, if their species is similar and it handles energy the same way, does that energy manipulate that cord? Right? Is that the thought then?
Or just
or maybe the ship itself is there because they can't handle our atmosphere, things like that, so that they can astral from that base.
Maybe. What I was thinking of is like, so along that cord line, so using the same analogy of a rubber band.
Okay.
So a rubber band can only stretch so far. Eventually it's either going to snap back or it's going to break, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what if they have to have a machine from where they live to augment, if you will, the ability of the rubber band? So their rubber band has a limit. The machine allows them to significantly increase the limit of the rubber band to be able to...
So it like strengthens the rubber band, so to speak?
Yeah, so they can go farther than they're normally able to go. And I don't know if it would be farther or further. I think farther is the right word, but
I don't know. But it's interesting. It makes me think of the books and the movie and TV show, his Dark Materials, which the movie was Golden Compass, and there's now a TV show.
Yeah.
But they have familiars with them, and there is a cord that connects them, an energetic cord, and that's what these experiments are working on, is they're trying to sever that to see what happens to these kids.
There yet.
I mean, it's like in the very beginning.
No, it's not.
All right. Well, I read the books. But yeah, anyways, so that, it makes you wonder, though, the same things. Like, can that astral cord snap? What happens if it does snap? Does the body die? Can the body... Because we know that we don't know anything, but if there is indeed a separate soul, spirit, we know then that it can exist without the body. But can the body exist without it? Because we don't know what happens when we're astral projecting.
Yeah.
But even then, we're still connected, so...
Yeah, and that's probably a whole other conversation around what would happen if the body were to become disconnected from the spirit. Mm-hmm. You might end up with like a... if you imagine you remember the movie Click with Adam Sandler? Mm-hmm. So he accidentally put it on like permanent fast forward or whatever to get work done. And then so everybody was interacting with his body, if you will, and it was just kind of going through the motions. Yeah. So maybe that would be what would happen.
Well, it also makes me think of like Angel from Buffy and stuff, like when he had no soul, he was complete evil. that the soul was what caused us to be good, or even the show Supernatural. There was a whole season where Sam didn't have his soul, and so he essentially just didn't care about things, you know, and it was in a lot of ways it was going through the motions, but he had no empathy, no sympathy.
Yeah.
Nothing. It was just like emotions had left his body. He was basically a Vulcan.
Well, but Vulcans, you know, they can practice to blend their emotions.
They can.
I just watched that on Enterprise, so that's
Yeah, I watched it too.
So, anyways, yeah, don't touch anybody.
Oh, that's two things mixed together. That was a little Demolition Man too. Good journey. Make sure to use the 3 shells.
I just remember my mom always had the basket of soaps, and it had like little shells and stuff, like soap shaped, or shell shaped. So that whenever I saw that movie, I was like, "Is that what it is?"
You're in there scrubbing your ass with a soap, and your mom's like, "This soap doesn't smell so great anymore."
This soap used to be white, now it's kind of brown. Oh, sorry about that. Anyways, so that's my. I think that's my thoughts on the.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about this for a long time. Yeah. I mean, it's just because we didn't even really touch on going through time. We mostly spoke about space.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about time.
Okay. Yeah. So like I said, I don't think we can astral project into time, though I do think we can send our subconscious, and I think if there is any truth to time travel, it will be that. It will not be a physical manifestation time travel as much as it'll be an observational one.
So let me ask you something. We've talked about before about how time is a man-made concept.
Mm-hmm.
So if time is a man-made concept, why can't we astral project through time? Are we limited by our own conceptions of time?
I mean, it's possible. It's possible.
If you were able to have a different understanding of time, and then while you had that understanding astral project, would you be able to astral project through time?
I guess, but what other type of understanding could you have besides things happened before and things happened after?
They're all happening simultaneously. Time is a pool, if you will.
Okay.
The past, the present, the future, it's all just intermingled in the pool. And how you interact with it depends on where you are in the pool.
Don't eat the baby Ruth in the pool either. That's what I'm saying. It's not a baby Ruth. It's not a baby Ruth.
Yeah, it wasn't.
That was when you were born. I don't know.
Deep thoughts here, man.
Yeah, that's the deep end of that pool. I don't know. You just blew my mind a little bit. I'm going to have to think on that for a while when we discuss time travel. We're going to have to go now because I need to think on this. I've never in a million years thought about it like that. Not once. So I'm a little lost right now.
That's all right. I'm just now starting to think about it.
Yeah, I can tell.
And I'll tell you that the creepy catch-up for the podcast that'll be on next week's episode that we're going to record today. I'm going to talk a bit more about it because I've had some dreams and stuff that involves it. So if anybody's watching and didn't watch the podcast, or didn't listen to the podcast, please do.
Yeah, I mean, you do. You have a face for radio, man. Yeah, I guess let's get out of here. That's about all I can think of now that my mind's blown and I need to think about that.
So thanks, everybody, for tuning in to our second episode of FearScape
Unhinged!
Hope you've enjoyed everything. Again, drop some comments below. We'd like to hear what you guys think.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on the intergalactic planetary Ghost Rider machine?
Would I be allowed to sing the song in a song-like song?
Yeah, as long as it's 7 seconds.
Intergalactic planetary.
So that's just 3 seconds.
Okay.
You're good. You're good. We're going to sample that. No, thank you guys for tuning in. Like I said, leave your comments down below.
Make sure you click that subscribe.
And hit the alert button so that you can know whenever we've got new episodes, because that's super cool.
And
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, you.
No, you. Hold on.
27.
Yep.
If you haven't checked us out on the podcast, if you're finding us on YouTube, please check out the podcast. You get to hear our voices without looking at my cool shirt. Yeah, FearScapePodcast.com. If you got anything that you want to let us know that you don't want to feel comfortable leaving in the comments, FearScapePodcast@gmail.com. So thanks again for checking us out. We'll talk to you again.
Yep, this has been Stefan. I will catch you on the flippity flip side.
This has been Josh. The truth is out there.
And remember, folks, hold those blankets extra tight. Things always get spooky. And we'll catch you on the next one. Good night, everybody.
Good night.